The hook, the escape pod, drifted through the endless black of space. Inside, a lone man sat hunched over, his breath shallow, his body weak. His name was Daniel, and he was the last survivor of a destroyed convoy. For 3 days he had floated between the stars, with only a failing oxygen tank and a ration bar already gone. The silence pressed against his ears, reminding him again and again that he was alone. So very alone. His eyes burned from lack of sleep. The pod systems blinked red, warning that power would fail within hours. He thought this was the end. Maybe death in the dark was better than starving slowly. But then, something appeared in the distance. A shadow against the stars. Huge, broken, drifting. At first he thought it was an asteroid. But as the pod got closer, he saw a structure. Towers, hull plates, metal spines like bones jutting from a corpse. It was a ship. An ancient, derelict ship, massive enough to swallow his escape pod whole. His chest tightened, both from fear and hope. If it had air, if it had food, if it had power, maybe he could survive. The pod's thrusters coughed weakly, guiding him toward the wreck. His hands shook on the controls. Every survival instinct screamed danger, but every human instinct begged for life. The closer he came, the more detail emerged. The ship was alien, its design nothing like human engineering. Curved like a rib cage, with windows dark and hollow like eye sockets. And yet, parts of it looked strangely familiar. Broken pieces of human metal welded to alien steel. It was as if 2 species had fought over this vessel, and both had lost. With a final sputter, the pod clamped onto the ship's side. The docking latch sealed, air hissed, and silence returned. Daniel strapped on his cracked helmet and checked his knife, the only weapon he had left. The hatch opened with a hiss of stale air. The smell hit him first. A dry, metallic stench, mixed with something faintly sweet, like rot buried under centuries. He stepped inside, boots echoing on the hollow deck. The corridor stretched long and dark. Wires hung like vines, dripping with frozen condensation. Panels sparked weakly, glowing for a second before fading again. Daniel's breath fogged his visor. He whispered to himself, "Supplies, just find supplies." But deep down he felt it. This place was not empty. It was waiting. His footsteps seemed too loud. The silence swallowed every sound the moment it left. The air was stale but breathable. He pulled off his helmet, gasping in the faint oxygen. The taste was bitter, but it was life. Hope flickered inside him, small but stubborn. If there was air, maybe there was more. Maybe water, maybe food, maybe a chance. Then he heard it, soft at first like static in the walls. A whisper, so faint it could have been his imagination. He froze, body stiff, ears straining. The sound returned, clearer this time. A voice, female calm but cold, and it was not coming from the ship's speakers. It was coming from inside his mind. "Welcome, human," the voice whispered. Daniel spun around, knife ready, heart pounding. No one was there, only shadows and broken walls. He pressed his hand against his ear, thinking it was the helmet radio, but he had already removed it. The voice came again, smooth and steady. "You should not be here." Daniel swallowed hard, his throat dry. "Who's there?" he whispered into the dark. The silence stretched, and then the voice answered. "I devoured the last human, 500 years ago." The knife shook in his hand. A cold dread sank into his bones. 500 years? That was impossible. No one could live that long, not out here. And yet the voice was sharp, confident, alive. Daniel forced himself to move, his survival instincts pushing him forward. He would not let fear freeze him, not now. He needed to explore, he needed to find something, anything, to keep living. But every step deeper into the ship felt like walking into a grave. The corridors twisted, more like a labyrinth than a ship. Some walls were scorched, melted by weapons' fire. Other parts seemed grown, as if the ship itself was alive. Daniel brushed his hand against the surface, and it pulsed faintly under his glove. He pulled back fast, his skin crawling. The whisper laughed, low and soft. "Still alive after all this time," it said. "You humans are stubborn creatures. Daniel's breath quickened, but his jaw clenched. Fear clawed at his chest, but so did anger. He was human. He was a survivor. Whatever haunted this ship, whatever whispered in his head, he would face it. He would not be devoured. Not today. Not ever. And as the corridor stretched ahead, the voice followed him. Always close, always in his mind, never letting him forget that something in the dark was watching, waiting, and hungry. The whispering voice. The ship groaned as if it remembered pain. Daniel moved carefully, his knife trembling in his hand. The walls seemed alive, breathing faintly, pulsing with hidden veins of light. Every step felt like walking deeper into the chest of a sleeping beast. And always the voice followed. "Do you know where you are, human?" it asked. Its tone was soft, almost curious, but beneath the calm was hunger. Daniel clenched his teeth, ignoring it. He searched broken consoles, shattered crates, looking for food or water, but all he found were fragments of metal and dust. The ship had been picked clean long ago, or maybe devoured. He whispered to himself, "It's only in my head, stress, oxygen sickness." But even as he said it, he knew it was a lie. The voice answered, amused, "No sickness, no dream. I am here with you." Her words slid through his skull like cold fingers, and no matter how he shook his head, he could not push them out. Daniel turned a corner and froze. A wide chamber opened before him. The floor was littered with bones. Some human, some alien, twisted, cracked, fused with the floor itself. The sight made his stomach clench while rising in his throat, and the voice whispered, almost lovingly, "Beautiful, aren't they, my meals, my memories?" He staggered back, tripping over his skull. His breath came fast, his chest heavy. The ship smelled thicker here, sweet and rotten. He gripped the knife until his knuckles turned white. "Stay away from me," he hissed into the shadows. The voice only laughed, a sound both gentle and cruel. "I'm already inside you, human. I don't need to come closer." The lights above flickered, casting long, sharp shadows across the chamber. For a moment, he thought he saw movement, a silhouette crawling across the wall, spider-like, watching him. But when the lights steadied, nothing was there, only bones and silence. He forced himself forward, past the dead, deeper into the ship. Every nerve in his body screamed to run, but he could not. Running meant death. He had to find water, power, escape. Survival was the only answer. As he walked, the voice changed. Sometimes it was gentle, whispering like a friend. Sometimes sharp, mocking, cutting into him. "You are thin, weak, starving," it said. "You will taste bitter, but your fear will season the flesh." Daniel bit his tongue, refusing to answer, refusing to give it the satisfaction. He passed through another hall, where walls curved like ribs. In the center lay a broken human helmet, scratched, cracked, but unmistakably from Earth. He knelt, running his fingers over it. Who had worn it? How had it come here? The voice answered before he asked. He screamed beautifully, "Your kind always does." Daniel slammed the helmet against the wall, the sound echoing like thunder. "Shut up," he roared. For a moment, silence. Then the whisper returned, softer, almost tender. "You are not like the others." Daniel froze, his heart pounding. "What do you mean?" he whispered back, against his will. The voice chuckled like a lullaby. "They begged, they prayed, they broke quickly, but you still fight." Her tone changed again, hungrier now. "Your soul burns brighter. I can feel it." Daniel shook his head, stepping away. "You're not real. You're just a ship, some broken machine." The voice grew sharper. "No. Human, I am older than this shell, older than your species. I am hunger itself." He gritted his teeth, moving faster through the corridors. His steps echoed like drums in the silence. The ship seemed to twist around him, doors closing, halls bending. It felt alive, as if it was guiding him somewhere. And always the voice, closer now, breathing inside his skull. "You cannot escape me. I am in the walls. I am in the air. I am in you." Daniel stopped, pressing his hands over his ears. "Leave me alone," he shouted. His voice bounced down the corridor, swallowed by darkness. But the whisper did not fade. It laughed low and patient. "You don't understand. I don't want to kill you. Not yet." Her tone shifted again, playful. "I want to keep you. I want to savor you." Daniel's chest heaved, his throat dry. He wanted to scream, but instead, he whispered back, "Why me?" For the first time, the voice paused. When it spoke again, there was something new in it. Not just hunger, but curiosity, because, "Human, you remind me of something I lost." Daniel gripped his knife tighter, his heart thundering. The air grew colder, the lights dimmed. He felt it then, a presence behind him. Slow, crawling, pressing closer. He turned fast, slashing with the knife. The blade cut only empty air. The corridor was empty. But the voice breathed against his neck, closer than ever. "Run if you want, fight if you dare, but remember this, you are not alone." The ship's secrets. Daniel walked deeper into the vessel, each step echoing like a drum in a tomb. The voice had grown quiet, but silence did not comfort him. It felt worse, like a predator watching without moving, like the air itself was waiting for him to break. The corridors stretched in unnatural ways, bending when they should not, twisting as though the ship had grown instead of being built. The walls shimmered faintly, pulsing like muscle beneath thin skin, and when Daniel touched the surface, the material felt warm, alive. He pulled his hand back fast, his skin crawling. "Do you feel it?" The voice whispered suddenly. "This ship remembers everything." He entered a wide chamber that looked like a hall. Its walls were covered in carvings, crude yet deliberate. Daniel squinted at them, wiping dust from the lines. His heart froze. They were pictures etched by hand. Not alien hands, but human. The drawings showed men and women with weapons, fighting against something vast and shapeless. Figures with long claws and sharp teeth. A swarm of shadows devouring entire armies. And always at the center, a single symbol, a circle surrounded by broken lines like a mouth trying to close. Daniel traced the marks, feeling the rough grooves beneath his fingertips. How are these here?" he muttered. The whisper answered at once, soft, satisfied. "Your kind came here long before you think. They fought, they bled, they fed me." His throat went dry. That meant humans had been here centuries ago. Centuries before anyone knew. But why, how? The carvings grew darker as he followed them around the walls. At first battles, then hunts, then feasts. Human figures tied down, their souls drawn out like smoke. The shadowy creatures inhaling them, savoring them. Daniel's stomach twisted, ball rising in his throat. He stumbled back, eyes wide. "Stop showing me this," he whispered. The voice laughed gently. "I'm not showing, they are. Your ancestors wrote their screams in these walls." The chamber grew colder, the air thick with the taste of iron. Daniel's breath fogged again. At the far end of the hall, a shape stood tall, a statue carved from the ship's very bones. It was not alien, not exactly. It looked human, but stretched too thin, mouth too wide, eyes too hollow. Daniel stared, heart hammering. The statue seemed to look back, its stone lips curving as if it might speak. And then the voice whispered, almost lovingly, "They tried to worship me when they could not kill me. They called me the hunger." His chest tightened, every instinct telling him to run, but his legs would not move. The carvings around him shifted in the dim light. He could almost hear screams in the stone, almost see the battles replaying, the walls breathing faster, as though excited by his presence. Daniel gripped his knife harder, the blade shaking. "Why humans?" he demanded, forcing strength into his voice. "Why us?" The whisper was soft, like a mother to a child. "Because you taste of defiance, your fear burns hotter, your souls do not give up even when your bodies break. You are fire in flesh." Daniel turned from the statue, stumbling into another passage. His boots splashed into something wet. He looked down, his heart racing. The floor was slick with a dark liquid, pooled in cracks. He knelt, touched it, then froze. It was not oil, not coolant. It was blood, dry black, but still wet in places, He jerked back, wiping his fingers on his suit. The ship smelled stronger now, sweet and rotten. And in his ears, the whisper purred. Fresh, it is never gone. This ship feeds on memory, and memory tastes like blood. Daniel pressed forward, his breathing ragged. Every corner of the ship seemed to lead deeper into madness. He found another chamber, smaller, round. Its walls were smoother, lined with glass-like panels. Inside each panel floated shapes. At first he thought they were shadows, but as he leaned closer, he saw them clearly. Faces, human faces, frozen mid-scream, their eyes wide, their mouths open. They pressed against the glass, as though still alive. His own reflection looked back at him in the glass, pale, terrified, and behind his reflection, the frozen faces moved, lips whispering soundless words. Daniel stumbled back, heart hammering. No, extinguished. No. The voice slid through his head, smooth as silk. Yes, they are here still, every one of them. They never left, not really. His knife trembled in his hand, but what could a blade do here? He wanted to smash the glass, to free them, but his instinct screamed it was a trap. This was not a grave, it was a larder, and he was walking into the mouth of it. The faces pressed harder against the panels, their mouths opening wider. Their soundless screams echoed in his mind. He clutched his skull, pain splitting through it. The whisper rose above them all, commanding, hungry. You see now, human, you're not the first, but you may be the last, the sweetest, the brightest, the one worth keeping whole. Daniel stumbled from the chamber, his chest tight. Every wall seemed closer, every shadow longer. The ship was alive, yes, but worse. It was a tomb that refused to sleep, a place where human souls had been trapped for centuries. And now it wanted him, not just his body, not just his mind. It wanted his fire, his defiance, his humanity. And deep in the silence, the voice whispered again, almost tender, almost kind. Do not fear, human, you'll not die here. You will live forever, inside me. The revelation. Daniel's footsteps dragged as he moved away from the chamber of faces. His breath came in quick bursts, fogging the stale air. His knife hung heavy in his hand. Every shadow stretched toward him like claws. Every corridor curved in ways that felt wrong. It was no longer just a ship. It was a maze built to swallow him whole. The whisper returned, softer now, almost gentle. You understand more now, don't you, human? Daniel clenched his jaw, refusing to answer. His silence only amused her. I showed you my trophies, my memories, my meals, and still you walk forward, stubborn little ember. Her words made his chest tighten. Every step forward felt like defiance, but also surrender. He was inside her trap, and he knew it. He entered another vast chamber. This one was not filled with bones or carvings. Instead, it was alive. The walls pulsed with faint light. Veins of energy ran like rivers through the floor. And in the center stood something like a throne. Not carved, not built, but grown from the ship itself. Twisted metal and bone fused together. Waiting for its queen, Daniel stared, his throat dry. His instincts screamed at him to run, but his body refused. He felt drawn toward it, as though invisible hands pulled his chest forward. He stumbled, gripping the knife tighter, and the voice whispered, closer than ever. Do you see now, human, this is me. Daniel froze, his mind racing. What are you, he muttered. The whisper answered without hesitation. I am hunger made flesh. I am the shadow between stars. I am the silence that waits after screams. Her voice grew deeper, filling the chamber, echoing from every wall. But to your kind, I am something else. She paused, savoring the moment. They once called me mother. Daniel's stomach twisted. No, he whispered, shaking his head. The voice laughed softly. Yes, they begged to me like children, prayed when their weapons failed, worshipped when death came. Your ancestors gave me names, fed me willingly, then cursed me when they saw the truth. The throne pulsed with dim light. The floor vibrated under his boots. as though the ship itself was breathing with her words. He shouted, voice raw, "You're lying. Humans never served you." The whisper sighed, almost sad. "You think you were born free. You think your fire is new, but long ago your kind was mine. I shaped you with hunger. I sharpened you with fear. I devoured the weak and left the strong, and the strong made more strong." Her tone sharpened. "Your species is not special because of what you are, human. It is special because I made you that way." Daniel staggered back, his chest pounding. "No, that's not true." The whisper grew sharp, almost cruel. "Then why do you burn so bright? Why do you fight when all others break? Why does every one of you taste like victory?" Her voice lowered, almost a whisper in his ear. "You are mine, Daniel. You always were." He clutched his head, his skull pounding with her words. It felt like she was inside his blood, inside his breath. Memories that were not his flashed in his vision. Ancient battles, humans screaming, humans kneeling, humans fighting until the last breath. Her laughter echoing over it all. He felt at his knees, gasping. "Stop it," he begged. The voice only purred. "Do you feel it now? The bond, the truth. You are not just prey, you are part of me." The throne pulsed brighter. For a moment, Daniel thought he saw a shape sitting there. A woman, pale and sharp, her eyes black pits, her smile wide and endless. Her lips moved as the voice whispered, "I devoured the last human 500 years ago, but I left one ember in the dark, a seed. You are that ember. You are the last child of my hunger." Daniel gripped his knife, forcing his shaking legs to stand. His voice broke as he shouted, "I'm not yours. I'll never be yours." The whisper laughed, but not cruelly, not now. It was soft, amused, almost tender. "Oh, little ember, you already are. You fight because I made you. You survive because I shaped you. And when you finally burn out, I will take you back into me." The chamber's walls pulsed faster, like a heart racing. Energy crawled along the veins of the floor. The ship itself seemed to lean closer, breathing his air. Daniel stumbled backward, his knife raised. Every instinct screamed at him to escape. But the voice whispered one last time, "Run if you wish, but you cannot run from yourself. Every step you take, every breath you steal, it all leads back to me." And as he fled the chamber, the throne behind him seemed to shiver. The woman-shaped shadow, still sitting, still smiling, still waiting for him to return. The trap. Daniel ran through the twisting halls, his boots slamming against the metal floor. The ship groaned as if it were alive, shifting around him. Doors hissed shut the moment he passed them, cutting off retreat. Panels flickered, sparks rained down. The air filled with the smell of burning wires. It was no longer a derelict. It was a predator closing its jaws. The voice followed, playful now. "Run, little ember, run. I enjoy the chase." Her words crawled inside his skull, cold and sweet. He gritted his teeth, refusing to answer. His knife was still in his hand, but it felt useless here. What could a blade do against a ship that breathed? He turned a corner, only to find the corridor bending in an impossible angle. The floor sloped upward, walls closing him like a throat. He stumbled, hands scraping against the warm surface. The material pulsed, tightening around him, as if the ship wanted to swallow him whole. His chest tightened, every instinct screamed to move. He slashed at the wall, his knife cutting into the flesh-like metal. The ship shrieked, a high-pitched sound that rattled his teeth. Blood, or something like it, oozed from the wound, black and sticky. He yanked his knife free and kept moving. The whisper laughed. "You hurt me, brave ember, but every cut feeds me too. Pain and hunger are the same." Her voice shifted closer, behind his ear. He spun around, slashing at the air. Nothing, only shadows. But the air felt thicker, pressing against his skin, like invisible hands brushing his face. Testing, tasting. He pushed forward, panting. Another hallway stretched before him. The floor was littered with broken helmets, cracked visors, shattered tools. Human gear. Not one, not two, but dozens. Daniel froze, his breath catching. This was not the first time a survivor had come here, and none of them had left. He whispered to himself. They died here, all of them. The voice answered, warm and cruel. They lived here, inside me, forever, and now they are part of my song. The helmets around him vibrated softly, and from inside them came faint whispers. Dozens of voices, layered, overlapping, crying, screaming, begging. He dropped one, backing away. The sound followed, clinging to his ears. The ship wanted him to hear every death that came before. The corridor ended in a door, sealed shut. Daniel slammed his shoulder against it. It did not move. He pounded, kicked, but it remained sealed. The whisper cooed, trapped like a fly in web, and you thrash so beautifully. Daniel pressed his forehead to the door, breathing hard. His mind screamed at him to give up, but his soul refused. He growled, low and sharp. Humans don't kneel. And with a surge of strength, he jammed his knife into the panel beside the door. Sparks flew. The panel shrieked. The door shuddered open, just enough for him to squeeze through. The chamber beyond was worse than anything before. It was round, smooth, almost organic. In the center, a pool of liquid shimmered black. Shapes moved inside it, twisting, writhing. At first he thought it was water, but then the surface broke. A hand pressed out, skeletal, human. Another hand, then a face. Dozens of faces clawing at the surface, begging silently. Daniel staggered back, his stomach turning. The pool was not water. It was a pit of souls, trapped, dissolved, but not gone. The voice sighed, almost lovingly. My garden, my harvest, every human I kept safe, safe inside me. Daniel's grip tightened on his knife. His eyes burned. You call this safe, he shouted. The whisper laughed. Better than dust, better than silence. Here they live forever, and soon you will join them. The walls of the chamber rippled. The door behind him sealed shut with a hiss. He was trapped. The pit bubbled, faces pushing harder against the surface. Some looked at him with pleading eyes, others with rage. And then the liquid shifted, rising, forming shapes. A figure stepped out, made of black liquid and bone. It stood tall, its face half-formed. It wore the shape of a human, but twisted, wrong. Daniel raised his knife, breath ragged. His knees shook, but he refused to fall. The figure tilted its head, and the voice spoke through it, louder, deeper. Why do you resist, human? You belong to me. Daniel's heart pounded. He knew this was no longer just a whisper. She was giving herself shape, testing him. The trap was closing. Every path, every shadow, every door had led him here. The predator wanted him in this chamber. She wanted to watch him fight, to taste his fear, and he understood one thing. If he stayed passive, he was already dead. He steadied his hand, knife raised. His voice shook, but his words were clear. Then you'll choke on me. The figure of liquid lunged. The chamber roared with echoes of 1,000 voices. And Daniel charged forward, human defiance burning bright in the dark. The human defiance. The liquid figure lunged, black arms stretching like blades. Daniel dove aside, rolling across the slick floor. The creature's strike slammed into the ground, leaving a smoking scar. The chamber shook, the pool of souls rippling in excitement. Their silent screams echoed in his skull. But Daniel forced himself to stand, knife ready. The voice purred through the liquid body. Fight me. Ember, show me the flame I gave you. Daniel spat on the floor, eyes burning. You didn't give me anything, he growled. Humans made themselves. The figure tilted its head. Then prove it, it whispered and lunged again. Daniel slashed upward, the blade cutting through the liquid. The creature shrieked, its form splitting in two. But instead of dying, the black mass poured back together. The wound sealed, stronger than before. The voice laughed. Knives cannot kill hunger, Ember. Daniel's chest heaved, sweat dripping down his face. But instead of fear, fire rose in him. He shouted, then I'll use something sharper. He looked around the chamber, searching. The walls pulsed with energy veins, glowing faintly blue. Panels hummed like nerves under skin. The ship was alive, yes, but it was also a machine, and machines could be broken. Daniel darted toward one of the glowing veins. The figure slashed after him, its blade-like arm missing him by inches. Sparks flew as he jammed his knife into the vein, twisting hard. The wall screamed, energy flashing bright. The figure staggered, its body flickering. The voice hissed, sharp and angry now. Clever little Ember. Daniel ripped the knife free, his chest heaving. He grinned through the fear. That's the difference between you and us, he said. We don't just fight, we adapt. The figure straightened, liquid dripping from its arms. You cannot destroy me, it hissed. Daniel's eyes narrowed. No, but I can make you bleed. He sprinted to another wall, slashing another vein. The chamber shuddered, lights flickering wildly. The faces in the pool writhed, their mouths stretching wider. The figure lunged, but this time Daniel was ready. He rolled beneath its strike, then drove his knife into the floor vein. The ship screamed again. The figure staggered, its shape trembling. Daniel shouted, "You think hunger made us strong, but you're wrong." He tore his knife free, sparks showering his face. What made us strong is that we never stop fighting, even when we're broken. The voice hissed in rage. You dare define me in my own body. Daniel roared back. I'm human. Defiance is all I am. The figure lashed out, faster, sharper. Its arms sliced across his side, tearing his suit, blood dripping. Pain seared his ribs, but instead of falling, Daniel used it. He screamed in fury, his knife plunging into the glowing core at the chamber center. The energy vein ruptured, light exploding through the room. The figure shrieked, collapsing into liquid. The pool boiled, faces twisting in agony. The ship itself wailed, the sound so loud it shook his bones. Daniel stumbled, clutching his bleeding side, but his eyes blazed with fire. He shouted over the roar. You want to know what humans are? He raised his knife, sparks flying around him. We're the species that refuses to die. The figure reformed weakly, its shape unstable. The voice snarled, no longer playful. You burn too bright. Ember, I will consume you whole. Daniel staggered forward, every muscle screaming. But his voice was steady. Then choke on me. He hurled himself at the figure, knife plunging deep. Energy exploded. The chamber split with light. The liquid body writhed, shrieking. The voice filled the room, furious, wounded, afraid. You cannot kill me. It howled. Daniel twisted the blade deeper. No, he growled, but I can make you afraid of me. For the first time, the whisper cracked. It trembled, not with hunger, not with amusement, but with fear. The ship shook, walls shivering, veins flickering like dying stars. The figure dissolved into the pool, retreating. The whispers of the trapped souls rose louder, screaming, chanting. Daniel fell to his knees, exhausted, blood running down his side. But he smiled through the pain, because he had done what none before him had. He had made the predator hesitate. The chamber darkened, silence falling heavy. And in the stillness, the voice returned, weaker now. You are different, it whispered. Daniel's eyes burned as he forced himself to stand. I'm human, he said, voice hoarse. That's all you need to know. The climax and ending. The chamber burned with fractured light. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Shadows tore across the walls. The ship trembled as if it were alive and dying at the same time. Daniel stood unsteady, blood dripping down his side. His knife still glowed with stolen energy. His breath came heavy, each inhale like fire in his lungs. But his eyes did not waver. The voice returned, weaker but sharper. You cannot win, Ember, it hissed. I am endless hunger. I have lived for centuries. I will live for centuries more. Daniel spat blood onto the floor, his lips curling into a defiant grin. Then you'll remember me forever, he said. The ship roared, walls shaking, veins flickering with dying light. The pool of souls churned, faces screaming silently. Some reached toward Daniel as if begging for release. Others stared at him with hollow rage. He He felt their weight pressing on his chest. Their lives, their deaths, their endless captivity. And in that moment, he understood. If he left this place alive, they would remain trapped. If he fled, the hunger would survive, waiting for the next human. But if he stayed, if he struck deep enough, maybe he could end it. The whisper slid into his ear, almost pleading now. Do not destroy me, Ember. You will vanish too, and your fire will be gone. Daniel gritted his teeth. Better to burn out free than live forever as your meal. The voice shivered, cracking. You think you frighten me, it hissed. You are only one man. Daniel lifted the knife high, his eyes blazing. One man is enough, he growled. He staggered toward the throne. The twisted seed of bone and steel pulsed with black light. It was her heart, her core, the center of the hunger. The air grew thick, pressing against him like a storm. The walls screamed, the floor writhed. The ship tried to push him back. But Daniel pushed forward one step at a time. His boots slipped in blood, his vision blurred. Still he moved, still he burned. Human defiance, carrying him further than pain ever could. The figure of liquid rose again from the pool. Half-formed, unstable, desperate. It lunged at him, but slower now, weaker. Daniel roared, slashing through it. The knife burned bright, cutting deep into the black mass. The creature shrieked, dissolving into steam. The whisper cracked, trembling with something Daniel never expected. Fear. He reached the throne, placed his hand against its surface. It pulsed like a heart, heavy, sick, alive. The voice screamed, louder than before. Do not do this, Ember. You will kill yourself. You will kill everything. Daniel pressed the knife against it, his body trembling. His voice broke, but his words were steady. I'd rather die human than live as your food. The knife plunged deep. Light exploded, tearing through the chamber. The ship wailed, a sound that shook the stars. The pool of souls erupted, faces screaming, then dissolving into light. For the first time, their voices were not begging. They were free. Daniel collapsed to his knees, his body shaking. The throne cracked, splitting apart. The veins of energy across the walls shattered. The ship convulsed, tearing itself apart. The voice screamed, Ember, no, no. But the scream faded, breaking, dissolving into silence. Daniel lay on the floor, vision fading. The air grew cold, the walls crumbling around him. He smiled through the blood on his lips. His last words a whisper, humans don't kneel. And then the chamber collapsed in fire and light.